Welcome back to Farmers Inside Track. I am Patricia Tembo, specialist journalist at Food Forum Mzansi. Today's episode explores how training and accreditation can unlock market opportunities for farmers. We'll hear from Stephen Mantsho of Subtrop, an organization in the Tzaneen area helping local farmers get GAP accredited and connect to national and international markets. Through Subtrop, Nedbank provided 650,000 Rand to enable 10 farmers to achieve GAP accreditation, opening doors to export into the UAE, Europe, China, and the USA. My colleague Ivor Price spoke to the farmers about their experiences.
Stephen, thank you for joining us here on Farmers Inside Track. I've been wanting to talk to you for the longest time. Finally, I have the privilege.
Thank you very much, Ivor, for this opportunity. And it's a good opportunity where at least we get to talk about what we do for farmers. And again, talk about what is important in the agricultural space, looking more particularly in the development of agriculture and transformation of agriculture and participation again in markets of the farmers. It remained very much important for us today to meet here and discuss.
I'm so excited because there's a lot of great work happening throughout the country, but for a moment, I want us to zoom into the Limpopo province. Could you perhaps share the vision behind Subtrop and how you support farmers in Limpopo?
The first we have done is in 2018, we as Subtrop started looking into the transformation projects which can look into enabling black growers in the regions, more particularly in the region of Vhembe and in the region of Mopani, to become more viable commercially. That way we're looking into how they participate in the local markets, but rather building into the commercial and export markets. Again, looking into the competitiveness. So that has helped us to promote and support them. And as we are saying, that transformation is our primary role and central to the mission of achieving what we want to achieve at Subtrop. Hence, when you look into our associations, so we're running 3 associations. We're running the Mango Growers Association, the Lychee Growers Association, and the South African Avocado Growers Association. So if you look into both Mango Association and the Avocado Association, they have transformation as one of their activities, as a primary activities. And they do put aside enough funding to make sure that transformation do happen in that space. But going forward is that with our farmers, what we did, we created ourselves areas of focus when we started working with the farmers. So our areas of focus are 5. The first one is to make sure that we enable knowledge and skill of on-farm production, because the farmers need that skill in the farms to understand and to make sure that they do have this technical knowledge to grow. Hence, we gave ourselves 3 things to do. We talk about quality, we talk about quantity, and then the markets. If we reach that through this enabling technical knowledge, we are able to achieve what we want. But as well to make sure that we open and enable sustainable markets. We have seen previously when people have tried to assist the black growers or small growers, whether being white or black, they are unable to open sustainable markets. So with us here, we're looking at sustainable markets. So the markets which will be able to take their product for a space of 10 years without stopping and with renewable realities. But we look again into how do we protect and sustain the current establishment. So our farmers, who are the ones we are trying to transform, must be able to sustain their current establishment. So you find a farmer there with 100 trees, or you find a farmer with 20 hectares. How do you help that farmer to make sure that you protect what they have and you help them to sustain what they have established? So that is one of the things which we work on. But again, we work on study groups. It's where farmers meet. Quarterly, we do meet. We do have study groups which are at least limited to a specific scale of farmers which meet monthly. But why do we meet monthly? It's because we try to encourage farmers by visiting each other's farms, by critiquing each other's. And what happened is that in the previous 5 years, what we have seen is when we revisit your farm, there changed. One of the biggest producer of the fiat avocado cultivar, where we met in 2022, when we went into the farm, the product could not enter the formal markets because of some lentils and other things which happened in the farm. But currently, we're talking about this person being one of the biggest fiat producer in the country, providing fiat in the direct market. So direct market, we're talking about the retail chains. So that is where we see the importance of this part of study groups. Again, we're looking into fully transforming the industry. We work with Fruit South Africa. We have the roles which we need to play, but as well, Fruit South Africa is its role which they need to play, and to make sure that we enable fully transforming the industry. And fully transforming the industry, obviously, we can talk of it in two ways. We can talk of it in statistics or in numbers, but in numbers it's difficult because the more a black grower grows, it doesn't mean that a commercial white grower is stuck. So with numbers, you are unable to see it, but with what happens on the ground, meaning changing the farmer's perspective, changing the farmer's scaling, and making sure that the farmer participates in the markets and going forward, that remain important and help us to see if we're transforming. The reality is, if you look in any business in South Africa, regardless of being agriculture, retail, we're talking about the 80-20 scaling, where we're saying 80% of what is happening or the production or whether the services are provided by 20% of businesses in any sector. So it means that in agriculture as well, it does happen. Either being a black small grower or white small grower, we cannot reach that point of percentage we want to reach now. But the reality is we must transform what is existing and moving forward. But going forward is that we've helped ourselves by putting the pillars which will help us to achieve these goals. So we have a pillar of education and training. We have a pillar of development. We have a pillar of grower support. And we have a pillar where we're looking into long-term projects. So with this already, we have had the first 10 farmers whom we have moved with along these pillars. And currently, those are the farmers we're looking into training them so that they can start exporting in the future or by next year or in 2 years. So we have moved with them. Now they are supplying the local chains, and we have been approached again by retail chains now to say they want to work with these 10 farmers as well so that they provide the fruit into that. And we're being approached by even more than that, people who are looking into assisting somebody in the regions which I'm talking about to establish a packhouse drying facility. Already we have somebody who came and produced drying facility. We have somebody who came and produced an oil factory. And both of them are owned by black people who are sourcing from these farmers which we're talking about. So with what we have done over the previous 5 years, and what we are planning to do over the next 5 years shows that indeed we are moving in a correct direction and there's transformation happening on the soil.
Stephen, this is goosebumps for me. It was a goosebump moment to hear you talk about how something as practical as the farmer interactions can accelerate growth, and also how you're opening up new markets in mangoes, avos, lychees. Now you're talking export. Of course, we know that export can't happen without GAP accreditation. I'm wondering, how does GAP accreditation transform a farmer's ability to access new markets, both locally here in South Africa, but also internationally?
As you heard me earlier, I spoke of 3 things which I'll continuously repeat. We talk about quality, we talk about quantity, we talk about markets. So the farmers now have passed the quality space because now there are other retail space which are taking their produce. And when you put the product in the national markets, in terms of competing with price, you can see that indeed the product has quality. So when we move to say, how do we scale up, and we assisted the farmers one way or the other, some of them developing their own orchards, some of them we will boost them to have that. Some of them we have approached bank to assist them in terms of growing their scale. So that being the case, it means now we are stuck with quantity. And we want to push this quantity into the better pricing markets. And that being a case is that when we have a global gap, it gives us advantage. There are some of the retail chain locally which doesn't take the product without this global gap. We want to go into that space where we achieve growth through participating in those local chains. 45% of the fruit which we produce in South Africa stuck in South Africa, meaning that it's consumed locally. But how do we then access international markets require a global gap accreditation? And what we're talking about now is to say that with this global gap, our farmers are going to have vast of markets. For example, when you look into some week, let's look into avocado. If you look into avocado from week 7 to week 9, that's when our farmers locally have more product. And that's when a neighboring country as well have more product. So they dump a lot of their produce in our national markets and it drops the prices. What happens to our farmers on the ground is to say, we want to assist them to say, have alternative markets. During that time when the prices are not good, it's good then to take your fruits on export and look into a good market which will give you a better price per kg. So with this gap, it's going to help our farmers to access the markets. And the new markets, if you look with new markets in China, India, Japan, you'll see now that we are trying to go into the Middle East, and that's where we're going to have new markets. So we want to say, in addition to our markets in Europe and the ones which we already have had in USA, farmers must be able to have a global gap and then participate in all these markets which are open.
Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the farmers who benefited from Nedbank support? I know it's been truly life-changing for many of them. What has this meant for their businesses so far?
It means a lot. Some of the farmers, if you go and Google their name, it will tell you the good work they're doing. It will show you the quality which they're producing, the picture of their farms before and after. But the farmers we're talking about here is the farmers which we met with in 2020. And we sat down and you say, we need to help and transform you. And they were able to come on board as farmers to say they want to do that. An interesting part is that we have met one farmer called Katuchelo Matika to assist this farmer with developing 1 hectare. So when we were helping him develop 1 hectare, farmers around the area started developing an interest in what is happening. And with whatever savings they had, with whatever loans they could have made or whatever dealings they could have had, they took that money, reinvested it in their farms. So they started developing from 1 hectare themselves, growing bigger to a point where we have one farmer who moved from 5 hectare now having 35 hectares. We have a farmer who was producing only in 1 hectare, but having a 10 hectare land, did transform into that. We have a farmer who did not understand how to produce a quality lychee. So this farmer has a farm of 98 hectares, but they didn't know how to produce a quality lychee which can compete into the market. Those are the farmers we met with and tried to assist them to say, how do we then move forward to have good quality so that we can participate in good markets. From 2020 up to 2023, when they were growing, some of them planting new trees, some of them, at least we were able to meet them halfway to scale their production as quick as possible. And some of them were able to facilitate financial assistance. Farmers we're talking about now, at least they do produce 80% of the fruit which we get between week 3 and week 7 in the markets. So it means these farmers we are talking about are good farmers, which if you go to the social media, if you go to Google and Google their names, it will tell you of the good work. Just recently, we received an email listing 2 of the farmers which are going to be supported to say they want to work with them and get their fruit. And the pricing which was put down was good. So it really showed that we didn't help farmers, so we're not looking into farmers who are benefiting, who do not understand what they're doing. But they do understand the production and they do understand the business. So up to so far, we're happy with the type of farmers and the quality of farmers which which are being supported by Nedbank.
It says a lot about Nedbank's contribution, also about Subtrop, and it's inspiring to hear how these farmers are technically able and excelling. But I can imagine that it isn't always an easy journey. From the farmers you've worked with, Stephen, what are some of the standout stories of resilience, of growth, of opportunity that you've encountered?
An example is, I gave an example of Matika. Going forward, telling his story is that when we found him, he had only 100 trees of avocado. We helped him with 100 trees. That was our first person we have assisted in getting into the formal markets. With the 100 trees, at least he was able to produce good money, above 200,000 per year, with the quality he was producing. He was coming in at a correct time in the markets. He was able to, from the money, the little money he got from the stealings, establish an additional 1 hectare. When we assisted him with 1 hectare, he established an additional 1 hectare. As we're speaking now, he has 10 hectares. And the good story, which shows growth, is that a commercial white grower did approach him and say, I want you to work with my son. We'll give you the land. And they came to us to say we must help facilitate funding to match what they're funding. But then the good thing is, when we're talking now, agreement are being signed and this land is being provided. So in addition to what we have started with as 100 trees, now it's growing into commercial. And commercial where even color now it's not a matter. It's to say that he's been approached to come and partner with a commercial white grower. That is a good story. Some of the stories which we can tell is that it's been difficult getting qualities, because here we're talking about people using their own money, unable to get funding from banks because they do not have any track record to show that they can afford loans and other things. They were able to say with their small savings, they were able to say with their whatever money they get, improve their farms and make sure that they do grow. I mean, we're talking about now having above 100 hectares being planted between the time we started assisting them to the time we are in now. So with this one, I mean, it really shows you that then the quantity part has been reached. The farmers then are willing to grow. And the fortunate part is that it's not grants only which help them. They do participate. They do put a lot of efforts. They do put a lot of money. So when today you go to Nedbank to say, may we try to come up with a project of supporting these farmers, Nedbank itself did not even have to look back, because they looked into the story. They looked into where the farmers come from. They looked into this opportunity. They saw that this opportunity can grow these farmers. And one day Nedbank will be looking into this and said, we partnered with Subtrop and we've achieved this, which is to assist in the farmers in future. So growing with them being resilient and them being opportunistic, help them, because now we're talking about people who are between 2020, where they were making at least less than 100,000 each. Now we have a good number of farmers which are now profiting above 1 million. So this is a good opportunity. This is a growth, and we can see that they can become sustainable and they can be by themselves by the next 5 years.
It's absolutely inspiring, and I can imagine that people listening to this episode of Farmers Inside Track now, listeners come from 92 different countries. It's insane that they also inspired, and maybe they want to hear practical advice. What advice would you give to other agripreneurs, other farmers looking to scale from training to retail shelves?
The main thing you need to focus on is put your technical perspective into par. If you start technically understanding the quality, there's no way that your product will not reach the shelf. We have farmers all over the world. I mean, if you go to example, Kenya, the farmers there are producing in between 1 and 2 hectares, and they still make a lot of money out of that. But then with the farmers which want to make it, you must focus on the quality which you do produce, because consumers do buy with the eyes before they can buy with the mouth. So whatever you produce which is quality then will attract the buyer, who's the retailer. The retailer as well want to maintain the standard of saying the consumer are buying specific quality. So that is the first thing which an agripreneur need to buy into. But then the second thing going forward is to say we have seen a lot of farmers are not putting effort into packaging. So in a South African perspective, we say it's a value addition. But the packaging is very much important because the product which are packaged at least are scaled into different quantities, qualities. And for a person who's buying, want to buy, as I said, with the eyes, if they find a good packaging, they are able to buy that product. Going forward is to say that as an agripreneur, you must be business-minded. A lot of agripreneurs are stuck in the farm and they do not go above the farm. So you must be business-minded. You must understand that it's way beyond just a product being on the shelf. It's about putting your records. It's about understanding your finances. It's about going forward to understand that you as one farmer cannot feed the whole nation, cannot feed everyone internationally. It's about understanding that you do cooperate and you do have other farmers which you come together with to make sure that you supply the product together. We have seen it here with our products, the mango, the avocado, and the lychee. What we have seen is that the more the farmers come together and supplying the product, they are able to reach the consumer and they are able to reach their targets. So a lot of agripreneurs lose business and are unable to reach the retail shelf because they are unable to reach the target. So it's where we look into saying, understand your business and make sure you reach the target. Big agricultural enterprises in South Africa do not work alone. They do work together. They do not compete. They understand that they need to fill containers into the international space. They understand that the retail chains which we have in South Africa need their fruit on daily basis. So that being a case, they understand that they have to come together, fill the containers which must go, fill trucks which must go, and make sure that their packhouses are operational at all spaces. But the main thing is that they keep quality. They understand the consumer. The consumer buys with the eyes, does not buy with the mouth. The mouth is secondary. So put quality perspective into mind and put the understanding that your packaging must be up to par.
Stephen, thanks a million. My big takeaway today is you can't feed the whole nation or the world, as you said, but you can make a difference where you are. And if you've got partners like Nedbank by your side, you can go so much further. So thank you for joining us here on the Farmers Inside Track podcast. It was inspiring to hear your practical advice on being business-minded and everything from effective packaging to cultivating strong relationships to successfully navigate both local and international markets.
We want to take this opportunity as Subtrop to thank Nedbank for participating in this and agreeing to funding these growers which we are working with. And this will go a long way. And it's a promise that we are transforming the world together. We're transforming our farmers together. I have a friend whose family has been farming for 100 years. He told me that they have been fetching water with buckets some 100 years back. And currently when we're talking about a big enterprise. So with this partnership we're building with Nedbank, we're looking into the future. 100 years to come, it must be that it started with Nedbank, it started with Subtrop, it started with the farmer coming together and making sure that they do provide this solution towards farmers. But then we want to take this opportunity to say a bank which comes and say, we want to work with you. We'll show this as a reality in the future.
Local farmers showing us what's possible when training, support, and opportunity come together. How has achieving GAP accreditation opened up market opportunities for you?
My name is Kuliso Madima. I'm a lychee farmer. Our farm is at Ribanda Agribusiness in Limpopo. It has 52 hectares of lychee. Achieving GAP accreditation has opened doors I never thought possible. Now our produce can reach clients in Europe and China.
How has Subtrop helped you understand market requirements?
Working with Subtrop helped me understand market requirements and improve my farm operations. I'm now so confident about scaling my business.
And that was Stephen Mantsho from Subtrop, and the voices of local farmers showing us what's possible when training, support, and opportunity come together. You've been listening to Farmers Inside Track, proudly brought to you by Food Forum Mzansi. I'm Patricia Tembo, and until next time, keep growing with purpose.